Why is crypto up? Why is there no crypto content today? Will XRP be next? If you want the answers to these questions, you better stay tuned and watch the whole stream because I'm your host, Bill Noble, and this is the Market Update. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when we're going live from the YouTube Shorts feed. Now, why is Ethereum at 4,200? Simple. It's been suppressed for a very long time, and the ETF buyers like BlackRock and all these big players, they just basically drained a huge chunk of the supply of Ethereum off the market. It's as simple as that. So ETH runs by something called proof of stake. So Ethereum is both staked, meaning it's in like savings accounts, and then BlackRock and friends bought the rest simply because it's a tech stock and it's like money, right? You can run things, applications on ETH. And if you look at the valuation of Ethereum versus the valuation of big tech stocks, like Ethereum is like 500 billion, and big tech stocks are worth 4 trillion each. And you can run all of finance on Ethereum. Did I mention that? Now, you can do the same thing with XRP. In a way, XRP has Ethereum-related functionality. It can also act as money, just like Ethereum. But in a race where Ethereum starts off, things like XRP, it's just got its case settled, just got its banking license, could follow. Or the rest of the market could follow, including Bitcoin. There's SUI, another layer one. There's SEI, yet another layer one. So if ETH goes up, just like in 2021, I just gave you 2 great picks, right? And this is not investment advice. It's an opinion show. But altcoins are off to the races as a group. Why? Well, because Ethereum has been the rising tide that lifts all boats. And if you want to know why the whole market's going up, it's actually very simple. It's because Ethereum is going up. Amazingly, this is old school, right? Bitcoin profits from people who made money in Bitcoin when it was just crypto would roll over into altcoins and into Ethereum. This reminds me of way back in the day in 2016 and 2017 when all the Bitcoin maximalists were like, Ethereum, it has no use case. Well, we went back to that. This year in April, ETH went down to 1,400. That was its 27 high. Then it quickly went to like 3K, sat there for a while, or maybe 2,800. And then in classic Ethereum fashion, just took off. So the answer to why is the market up, that's Ethereum, period. Now, Ethereum just got to like 4,250. That might be resistance. Then again, our Gann model that's featured in our Patreon Platinum area is saying, hey, if Ethereum takes out 4,250, it might go to 4,500. And can you imagine Chainlink, Cardano, right? All the altcoins that we've been talking about for quite some time, right? Polkadot, Render, Jupiter, which is like an exchange on Solana, which is due for a huge catch-up rally. In other words, Solana could be the new Ethereum, meaning Solana is due for a monster catch-up rally. Not catch-up as in what you put on your hot dog or your hamburger. Catch-up as meaning, hey, this is undervalued as well. I mean, did you know that DePin, decentralized physical infrastructure, runs on Solana? No, most people don't. Most people don't. Most people also don't know that crypto and AI, they go together. Now, you got to stay tuned for this, because if you don't know this, You don't really know the secret as to why crypto can keep going. If not now, perhaps after late September, after the Fed cuts rates. So what does AI have to do with crypto? Well, both of them disrupt the free market system. AI is going to disrupt the labor market, right? And crypto is going to disrupt money. And they're both disruptors that basically are running away. Like BlackRock did the Bitcoin ETF, but crypto as a whole, the decentralized future, right? In other words, the future not owned by Silicon Valley and Wall Street cannot be stopped. Did you know that the Web 2 guys are going to borrow $1 trillion to build data centers? So not only are their companies worth $4 trillion, collectively, they're going to borrow $1 trillion. Because what's $1 trillion between friends in a race to build AI and Skynet? So as the value of AI rises, right, as they spend and spend and spend and grow and grow and grow, what's next? Well, crypto's got to follow. Crypto's AI, and then crypto's got to catch up. Do you know the value of all of crypto is only 3.8 trillion? The value of crypto is lower than the value of one big tech stock like Microsoft. Does that make sense to you? Of course not. So you're like, why is crypto up? Because crypto is undervalued, both as money, as finance, as an application, as software, and as a disruptor. It's underpriced, right? I mean, again, if you look even at meme coins, like nobody wanted Pepe and Doge. Everyone's like, the market's overbought. And I'm like, no, it's not. There are huge numbers of coins, right? Some of these coins, that we like are in the Patreon Platinum area and in the VIP section of our YouTube group. I got an analyst who does small coin work live, right? And some of the small coins, they went down and they were dead. And now they're coming back to life. Now, what is that called in technical analysis? In other words, how do you do technical analysis on the shorts feed? Well, it's easy. Because when something goes down and then it stays down and just sits there for a while, it's called the bigger the base, the higher into space. Meaning if something goes down and sits there, it's going to eventually turn around and rocket back up again, which is exactly what's happening in Ethereum, which is why Ethereum can carry the whole market. It's not magic. It's the bigger the base, the longer Ethereum sits around, the higher into space. That's what's happening to the small coins. Now let's talk Ethereum a little more and discuss maybe how it could affect both Bitcoin and XRP. Ethereum has gone up to like 4,500. This is the fourth time up here. And believe me when I tell you, a big hedge fund manager said this, and I agree. There is no such thing as a quadruple top. No such thing. So if Ethereum gets up here to like 4,200 and it goes through that, it can go to 4,500. And then, like I said, take all these altcoins, possibly even Bitcoin. Like Ethereum is a big market leader. So if Bitcoin is just hanging out and Ethereum takes a pause, Bitcoin could launch to 125. But I don't want to give the secrets away from our YouTube member area. The other thing about Ethereum that people may be missing, and again, you don't want to go anywhere for this, is that Ethereum is the key to decentralized finance. Did you know that there's all these stable coins out there? And since the government passed this law that stable coins were okay, that everybody is pouring money into crypto, like hedge funds, trading firms, mutual funds, places like BlackRock. They've been creating stable coins like crazy. There's all these stable coins out there. What do you do with a stable coin? Well, that's like a little digital dollar, right? What do you do with them? Well, you spend them. What do you spend them on? Crypto, other altcoins, right? Now it's also August. So everyone's at the beach. No one works in August. And on top of that, there are no YouTube influencers online. A lot of them are in Vegas for an award show. right? There are YouTube influencers online. There's no YouTube influencers and there's no seller because they're doing this on like a Saturday. People in like hedge funds, they're panicking because they're like, we can't wait until Monday. And these ETF guys are in for a huge rude awakening because remember, those guys close on Friday. They're going to be in for a rude awakening, which could create more FOMO on Monday. Because here's a laugher. Here's a reason to stick around. Do you realize that on the last dip, people actually were dumping the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETF in the stock market? So they puked out all this stuff. And now they got to buy it all back. Matter of fact, they got to buy twice as much, most likely, because people in the investing world like BlackRock, all these mutual fund houses like Charles Schwab, right? Charles Schwab can buy the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So what do you think demand is going to look like for that on Monday? Right? Absolutely, absolutely nuts. And then there's the idea of the way Ethereum moved in 2021, the last cycle, as they call it. When ETH moved, it did two things. It either went completely sideways, and when it rallied, it went absolutely straight up. Straight up. I mean, that's how ETH moves. That's how ETH is moving now. So if ETH went from 2,400 to 4,200, theoretically, it could go from the last low of 3,400 to what? Fill in the blank. 4,500, 4,800, right? It may not stop. Now, what about XRP? XRP is probably in pause mode, but that's not bearish. Pause mode means that as soon as Ethereum stops, these other altcoins will kick in. Cardano is another one. Stellar is another one that could literally just go vertical. In other words, range-bound activity, that's really boring because this is a great lesson in technical analysis. So you really want to stay for this. Boring price action breeds more boring price action. Like, 10 days ago, not even that, 6 days ago, guys on YouTube were like, oh my God, this is so boring. I can't believe how bored I am with this market. Okay, boring price action leads boring price action. But then exciting price action also breeds itself, almost like the common cold in a kindergarten class. So when you have alts that pop off, they can start doing it one by one, and XRP and Stellar and Cardano can be in the next group. Now let's talk about energy. This is your shorts feed TA part 2. You might remember back in the fourth quarter of last year that most altcoins just completely exploded, right? Off the election, off talk of the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, what does that represent? That represents energy, right? And a famous technical analysis who was, from a long time ago, from the 20th century, used to say that when you have a burst of energy like that, that energy doesn't go away. If you're able to burst like that once, you can do it again. And, I'm looking over here at the Stellar chart. You can look at XRP or Cardano or Solana. Solana was, Solana went to something like 280 the first time, right? Off the election. Why is Solana at 180 or 175? I don't know. But the catch-up rally, right? It's not just a catch-up rally. It's putting that energy to work again. That energy doesn't go away. It's a little bit like the bigger this base, the higher into space. Very same thing. Now, you may have heard of something called Web3, right? What's Web3? Stick around to check it out. Like, check this out. Web3 is like doing all the things you did in the regular tech world, which we call Web 2, except you do it on the blockchain. You do it in a way where no one has control. It's called decentralized. So let me ask you something. What happens if one of these Web 2 companies builds, an AI that can tell you what to do? Aren't you going to want something that's not in the control of one person? That's Web 3, right? And what's Web 3? I don't know. How about the top 300 altcoins? How about altcoins sitting underneath? How about privacy? Did you know that there was a privacy coin or privacy project, Tornado Cash, and the guy that wrote the code got convicted on a minor charge and almost got convicted on a major charge? A lot of times people don't want crypto to be they don't want the decentralized world. Yeah, they say Bitcoin's okay, but we don't want the decentralized world. Why? It's the same reason why crypto's up today. It's because the decentralized future takes power out of the big players, takes power out of their hands and puts it in yours. Think about that for a second. What is the value of something that can put power, privacy, money that they can't print back in your hands? And even though BlackRock's got a lot of the Bitcoin for the Bitcoin ETF, they still don't control Bitcoin. They have a lot, but that's held on behalf of other people. Think about it for a second. If you have something like Bitcoin, which is money that can't be printed, and the theory behind Bitcoin starts to spill out, right? Right now it's spilling out into Ethereum, obviously, right? But then you look at coins like Chainlink. Do you know that insiders at Chainlink are buying the token? Like normally people dump tokens for money when their token goes up. People at Chainlink, which connects crypto projects together, insiders are actually buying the token, which again can lead to Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP all being connected together. So when you say XRP is next, what you're saying is XRP could be a part of the cross-chain future. XRP is trying to get a banking license, and they're trying to stop it. Who's they? Wall Street. They're not going to be able to stop it. They're not going to be able to stop XRP. Just like they're not going to be able to stop Ethereum and all of the applications that are going to come on Ethereum. In fact, the banks better jump on soon. It's a joke, right? It's a joke that Uniswap, all these protocols where you can take a stable coin or Bitcoin or Ethereum and get an interest rate or get yield. There are crypto projects that actually make money. Do you know what they are? Have you ever heard of them? Maybe you have. Uniswap is one of them. A coin called Maker that rebranded itself Compound. There are all these firms that are like, what is that? Is that a meme coin? No, it's not a meme coin. It's something that makes money. Now, speaking of meme coins, do you realize it headed into today, Pepe, Doge, like the boomer meme coins, they had done nothing. Nothing. And you know what a 5% rally in ETH or any of these coins is? Everyone's like, oh my God, ETH is up a lot. Is it? I don't think so. In other words, why is crypto up today? Because it's so cheap, it can go up a lot more. Except it'll go up in buckets, sector by sector. Buckets comes from a term that our star analyst from the YouTube member area uses all the time to talk about what they call in equities sectors, right? Sectors are what dominates altcoins now because it doesn't all move in one direction all at once. It kind of goes one at a time. SUI and SEI, like I was talking about earlier, they may be next. And what's really funny is I was talking about the value. I was talking about Web3. So the Magnificent Seven stocks, they could be worth anywhere from 1 to 4 trillion. Do you realize that total crypto market cap outside Bitcoin and Ethereum In other words, Web3, right? It's only worth 1 trillion. Now, back in 2021, 1 trillion was like, oh my God, that's so much money. Not anymore. The US government was spending $1 trillion every 5 months under the previous administration. 1 trillion every 5 months. And we're saying that all of Web3 outside of the big coins is just now getting to 1 trillion. Now, I know 1 trillion is a big number, but it's too cheap. It's all too cheap. You know, which altcoin can you buy? Well, if you do any research or you can draw a chart, you might be able to buy, I don't want to say any altcoin because that's not true. And you don't want to put the rent money in. But there are a lot of coins, like the coins we went over, right? SEI, SUI, and one we just saved for anybody who stuck around, which is TAO, right? TAO, which is a very big AI-related coin. Because again, like sharing computing power, that's what DePin is all about. You ever heard of Amazon Web Services, the cloud Oracle, like that kind of company? They're going to do all this stuff in crypto. It's all there now, right? In other words, there's apparatus to connect all these different blockchains. There's apparatus out there like Polkadot that was given up for dead that can have, you know, blockchains upon blockchains upon blockchains. You could run all the finance on Polkadot, and that stuff just left for dead. It's like it's not even there. All the stuff that they built in the last cycle, like all these venture capitalists, they built all this stuff, right? And no one had any use for it. Well, now they're going to start putting stocks and bonds and commodities on chain. That's called real world assets. That could move something like Avalanche, right? In other words, Ethereum is called a layer 1, meaning you can run things on it. You can run programs, applications, businesses. You can do the same thing on Avalanche, Solana, right? The last cycle was a giant pump and dump in all these things that they've been building on for 4 years. Like XRP has been undervalued for 4 years as a form of money. Actually, probably longer than that because the SEC was after them. So what can XRP do? It can become a form of money. Ripple itself can be taken over. And I know that regulars on the show have heard me say this over and over and over again. But if you're new, obviously you want to like and subscribe to the channel because you never know when we're going to pop up on your YouTube Shorts feed with a cool live stream, particularly on Saturday morning when you're looking for content and there isn't any. Now let's talk about Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Do you realize Ethereum versus Bitcoin went down for like years, and only bottomed recently? So Ethereum could technically outperform Bitcoin, meaning it could go up more than Bitcoin when it goes up, or Bitcoin could sit still while ETH just goes crazy. You realize that could go on for months, 6 months, 7 months. So everyone's like, well, when are we going to have alt season? Well, what if you're going to have it between now and say the big solar eclipse season in September, or the Fed rate cut in September, or the rate cut that you would think you're going to get in September? What happens if this thing is just roaring fury? Now, what happens to people? So this goes back to, why is the market up? And then the next question is, what do I do? Well, the first thing you do is you don't freeze. You don't say, well, I missed the low, so I'm not going to do anything. Or it's already up 4%. I can't buy it now. Now, in a way, that's sort of understandable because every time altcoins would go up 3 days in a row, guys like me would go, oh, yeah, here we go. And then just go back down again. So I understand if people are hesitant. But again, ETH is moving. So as long as ETH is moving or stable near 4,200, I mean, right now, nobody seems interested in taking profits in ETH. And why would you? Because when that ETF opens up on Monday, it's going to go crazy. So if ETH stays up here, the whole world follows. when I mean the whole world, I do mean the whole world. This could even include the stock market, because a lot of people, including me, thought the stock market was going to go down in August. And I had to do something that I'm actually very proud of personally. Like, I was negative because of the stock market, because I thought the stock market was just going to fall apart. Then somebody made fun of me on Twitter, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, this guy who's making fun of me is right. And I flipped it. I just flipped around bullish as fast as I could, right? Because I don't want to be the village idiot that sat here negative, frozen, stuck in the negative view while this thing is rampaging higher. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to say, you know what? There's new information and I got to change my mind. Like, and this goes the other way. Like, if you bought some altcoin that doesn't participate in this rally between now and September, then maybe it's time to rotate out of that into something else. Because again, there's always a bull market somewhere. That's what the guy, Jim Cramer from Stocks, says. Or that's what he used to say. He kind of became famous as a reverse indicator. That's a long story. But, back in the day, he was like, there's always a bull market somewhere. And that applies to crypto. First it was Bitcoin, then it was ETH. What's next? Oh, it's got to be altcoins like Solana and Sui and the 3 altcoins we gave you on this stream. And we got a lot more in Patreon, right? And again, we got small coins, a lot of them in the YouTube member area. Now, a couple things I wanted to note, right, about Ethereum Layer 2s. So Ethereum is like a highway, right? It's like the upper level of the George Washington Bridge. You get the nice view. It's a little slower, but you get the nice view. Now, the lower level of the George Washington Bridge, you don't get the view, but maybe it's faster. That's what an Ethereum Layer 2 is. Like Optimism, like Arbitrum, like Polygon or Matic was the first one to really hit. And there's a lot of them. They probably overbuilt. But you got to think that those basically little highways, right? There's big Ethereum highway and those smaller highways. What happens when they get going, right? So, you have DeFi, Layer 1s. That's the top level of the George Washington Bridge, and the Layer 2s, right? And you talk about sectors, right? You can have sectors go and go and go. Greatest wants to know, what about XRP? Dude, XRP is money. It's money. And they just tried to crush it. This is another big XRP fact. Do you realize some XRP insider thought he was a genius and sold it at like 315 when it kind of made a marginal new high, and they took it all the way down to 285? And even though I was bearish at the time, I was like, nah, that's bunk. That can't be right. And all of a sudden, XRP turned around and absolutely smoked higher. Like, XRP could go along with Cardano. But, XRP is classic in that sometimes you have to wait. XRP may go, but it may go after Bitcoin goes. Because I think Bitcoin could be next, along with the other Layer 1s. So if you want to know what's going to happen to XRP, XRP is going to join the future of money trade. It was Bitcoin Cash, then it was Litecoin, right? Then it was ETH, and all of these other things could follow, right? Gareth, I don't know who that is. Gareth Soloway is still waiting for 8K Bitcoin. Oh, those stock guys, they love to be bearish. Mark Liano is here. Sarafina, test luck. What's going on? Sir, I am in India. We want to welcome our friends in Asia, right? And again, a lot of people asking for the XRP prediction. So I got an analyst that I work with in the YouTube member area, and she's got it exactly timed to when XRP is going to go to certain levels like $4 and $5. I know a lot of people think it's going to $589. I don't think it's going to go there. But I think Ripple can get taken over, and I don't think XRP gets this. The XRP, the army doesn't understand what happens if Ripple gets acquired. Somebody buys Ripple, they're going to get the company, their business development, their 1,000 employees, and all the XRP that they hold. So XRP gets a bad rap because, oh, it's centralized, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, if somebody buys Ripple and they buy all the XRP that they have along with the company, all that XRP supply comes off the market. They're not going to dump Ripple. I'm sorry, they're not going to dump XRP after they bought the company. They're going to save it for, I don't know, use in their metaverse or whatever they want to use XRP for. Just like Michael Saylor, right? You don't have to go out and buy it over a period of years. You get it all at once by buying Ripple. Okay. Ski Mask Dog Memecoins. What do you know? Right now, this particular meme coin is doing okay. You got some serious bag holders in these coins, but guess what? The coins went up, the meme coins go up, and then all the bag holders sell. When the bag holders, that means people who bought at higher prices, when it doesn't go down or it holds when it does go down, that's when the volume starts coming in. And volume is about to come in to meme coins. It is. Because ETH is the rising tide that lifts all boats. And Live It 351 is also noting that there are companies that nobody would have ever heard of before. They're buying $25, $50, $100 million in XRP. And that may continue because it's marketing. They get in front of the XRP army and, everyone's got the XRP news of the day. Even if they have to like make up or repeat some, I don't know, repeat old news. The XRP army is so big, they want to hear something every day. Well, how about this? Companies who are not only buying ETH or Bitcoin, I don't know about the Bitcoin guys, people could start buying XRP because, again, the banks don't want XRP because it's fast cross-border transactions, right? Somebody said Monero is on a huge dip, right? Monero probably getting hit, possibly because of what happened with Tornado Cash. I don't know. I'm going to try to pull it up right here and take a look at it. Right. So Monero is a privacy coin. And the privacy coin, I have one, antivirus, AINTI. The privacy coins are getting hit because of what happened with Tornado Cash. What does my star analyst like to do? She likes to buy it she likes to buy everything when it's down. Like literally, that's what we kind of do on the show. What is she like that hasn't rallied yet? And really, that's your job with anything here. Right? Don't buy something up 30%, but something like maybe, again, not investment advice, Clearpool. So Clearpool is up 8% today. And you're like, oh, wow, I can't buy it at 8%, but it's trading at 15 cents now. Where was it trading in December? At 56 cents. Like, do you realize what happens? Do you realize what happens if all this stuff just simply goes back to where it was at the beginning of the year? Like, I don't think the people don't get this. People are looking at Ethereum and they're like, what's going to happen? People are looking at XRP and going, what's going to happen? Well, XRP sat at 50 cents while Solana went from 10 to 200. Literally, they had to watch Solana 20x. So don't you think it's their day? Of course it is. Of course it is, right? If it's Bitcoin's day and Ethereum's day, it's XRP's day, it's Avalanche's day. Like, even if you look at Solana versus Bitcoin, oh my God, it's crazy how much Bitcoin has outperformed every single other coin. Tim to Win is reminding you to smash the like button if you like the YouTube Shorts feed market update. Time to Win says ETH to 20,000. ETH could go to $1 trillion. I mean, that's what these guys who are talking about 10,000 and 15,000, which to me was a little bit cringe, honestly. but it was cringe for like 2 days. Then it turned around and went straight up. Somebody's asking about Goldfinch. Believe it or not, Goldfinch and one other coin, you know, they were actually on our list a while ago, right? And then, you know, Goldfinch got hit really hard. Not going to lie, but Pendle just went up. Clearpool is moving, right? On the YouTube member area stream, you know, a lot of times we're looking at small coins that are getting into lending business. Webb, this guy is so full of it. You know what I like about the YouTube Shorts feed versus the regular live stream? We get some real hate here. And that's good. That's actually good. You know, you're getting somewhere in the world when they hate on you. That's just really funny. But we would appreciate you if you would like, you know, you can make fun of me all you want if you hit the like button. For real, right? Because, you know, there are components of crypto like the Goldfinch and like, you know, don't you think they are trying to underpin XRP, meaning undermine? Dude, the banks don't want them to have a banking license. They don't. Like banks are like, yeah, we're really into crypto. Yeah, okay. That's just lip service. Like, remember I talked about the AI disrupting everything? Crypto is going to disrupt banks, right? They can buy Bitcoin. They can do the Bitcoin ETF. That's just their way of trying to participate. But, you know, this is going to be, this is going to be, hello, next. Am I a Bitcoin maximalist? No, I'm not. Bitcoin won't be the only form of money because Bitcoin is not private. Matter of fact, they want you to like Bitcoin in a way because they can see everything you do on it. Now, eventually, you know, you're going to get very interested in privacy. Why? Well, because AI is going to be on the blockchain, right? JB says, I own 0 Bitcoin, right? They can see everything you do. Now, of course, it's money you can't print. So, you know, you can only get so far criticizing Bitcoin, particularly when Michael Saylor is just going to continue. It's not going to stop. And, you know, you're going to have guys like Tom Lee, you know, and the Ethereum treasury companies. You know, these companies are going to be racing each other to see who can be the Michael Saylor of this particular coin. They were doing that in ETH right before that small correction, and they may continue to do it. And as I said, XRP and Solana are next, right? I mean, now you got like pharmaceutical companies doing XRP. It's crazy. It's marketing. It gets their name out there. But what happens when financial firms start doing it? I mean, there's a group of coins called the ISO 20022 coins. XRP, Hedera, Algorand, Cardano, XDC, and yes, XRP. Those coins, you know, the banking system is required to use those coins to make payments faster. I call them the Made in America cryptos because they were talking about favorable tax treatment for those cryptos last time. You know, the Orange Man's all about it. He was like, hey, you know, we want crypto and the Made in America cryptos to be like tax-free. Bill, have you seen Chat-GPT agent mode from one of our members? You get this cool emoji, and our producer, you can get one for $4.99. So we know who you are, or you can join the big member area and get a bunch of research. Okay, these coins, XRP is inside these coins, right? These coins, you know, again, it's required for the banking systems, right? Financial institutions worldwide are constantly trying to improve data sharing. This standard presents a uniform approach. In other words, you got to adopt it. It's not optional, right? It comes from the International Order of Standardization. Now, someone who likes XRP is like, bro, it is way too early in the morning for big words like that. They have to use XRP Dermont says 1/4 rate cut in September. Let's talk about rate cuts. You buy the rumor and you sell the fact. Now, normally I make fun of that because everybody wants to do that in crypto. I think you do that with the rate cut, right? Powell is in trouble. He left rates too high for too long. Now, I don't know. That's because he's afraid of inflation. If all the inflation data is fake, like the employment data, or because if he cuts rates, he's got to admit that maybe there's a problem out there. Maybe there's something wrong with banks. We don't know. We know there's something going on in Japan. This is why, it's pump, pump, pump now. But as soon as he cuts rates, take profits. Daniel says XRP is the future. Edwin says Bitcoin looks so weak, so don't go crazy with alts, but still overall market is looking good. Yeah, overall market is looking fine because ETH won't stop. And then can you imagine if Bitcoin joined in? Like, that's how it works. This is how it used to work, right? In 2017, 2016, it used to be ETH and XRP. Like, ETH would flip XRP on the market cap chart, and then XRP would rally. Whoever gets flipped would rally. And then, ETH would then flip XRP, and then XRP would rally. And that went back and forth, right? For like extended periods of time. Now, that's not the game now, but it could be everything goes, sits, then Bitcoin goes, Bitcoin does its thing, and we go back to alts. You know what I'm saying? And this can actually happen. What do you think of Vechain? I think I'm going to quote my analyst who says, you want new stuff. You want new stuff. What's what our show's about, right? She's the star of the show. You want new stuff, right? You want new stuff. Those coins that I talked about, like if you don't know what to do, here's a list of coins. Ready? XRP, Stellar, XLM, Cardano, Hedera, XDC Network, Algorand, and you know what I forgot? QNT, which I call XRP's baby brother. QNT was supposed to be used for a stablecoin platform in Latin America. Okay. Somebody says, is actually Powell trying to destroy the United States? I don't know if he's trying to destroy it, but I think he works for people because it is a political organization. It isn't on paper, but he's acting in the interest of Wall Street, not in Main Street. Do you know the Fed pays interest to banks? Fed is a bank, and institutions put their money in there, and the Fed is paying 4% interest and actually losing money. And a lot of these banks, they're foreign banks. So does he want to destroy America? I don't know. Does he want to destroy you? Do the people who he answers to, do they not like you? I don't think they like you. And you're like, hey, man, that's outrageous. This guy's crazy. Maybe. Or maybe you want the decentralized Web3 future that I talked about. D Not You is here. Welcome. JB, what about ICP? You know what? I don't mind saying ICP was one of the first things that my star analyst picked like a year and a half ago, or longer than that, when we started the show. And don't forget about Chainlink. I didn't forget about Chainlink. I had Chainlink on every list we have. Patreon, YouTube member area, even the free videos. Dude, you sit on old school DeFi, you are going to miss out. Again, not investment advice. Okay. Somebody's talking about Volkswagen. What about the end of result of the audit of U.S. gold reserves? Oh, dude, we don't, first we didn't have the Bitcoin. We thought we did. We're going to have to buy it because there's no way we're going to be able to issue the amount of bonds we have to issue without giving some Bitcoin to people. That's in the future. It's not today, right? But we may not have the gold that we say we have. And one of the reasons why guys like Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he wants interest rates to go up so that the price of gold goes down. That's not working out. Gold is vertical because there isn't enough gold out there. If you have a piece of paper that says I own gold, if everybody came to get their gold all at once, there's not enough. And whose problem is that? The problem is with the banks that do the exchanges. sort of a simplification. But guess who's in the middle? All the big money center banks, like JP Morgan, like Bank of America. You may never hear what the U.S. gold reserve is because you might have panic. You'll never hear about silver. It's the same thing. By the way, and I said this for years, I worked at like a crypto math firm. And I worked with an economist, and we did a study that Ethereum does really good when the dollar goes down, when gold goes up, and silver goes up. And guess what? I've been sitting around waiting. The dollar went down, gold's been going up for a year, and then silver rocketed higher. And still we're sitting around waiting for the fact of the matter to take over. And ETH took over. Grass bounced heavy. DePin for normies. Grass has been on every list from the YouTube member area. No joke, right? No joke, right? Is Bitcoin not just a front, but XRP is the real thing? Dude, XRP is a part of the future of money. People don't see it that way. That was a catchphrase I had last cycle. It didn't turn out to be true, but it's going to turn out to be true now because, we're still printing money. China's printing money. The Japanese can't print enough money. They're in trouble. They got problems, right? And one day you're going to wake up and people are going to say, yeah, XRP is money. Or they're going to give XRP a banking license. Or the administration is going to be like, yeah, we got to get these American crypto companies going. We want them to have 1,000 employees, right? Somebody's saying Kaspa is the real thing. I know a guy that mines that. Here's something to consider. What are AI agents going to use to do transactions in crypto? They might want to be on fast layer ones. Crypto Steroid says, WTF is this BS? Sir, this is the morning market update where everyone sleeps and we stream. That is what we do. And we give you what you need to make decisions. Now, here's something else. Here's what I'm going to end with. Everybody tells you that you can't make decisions. All these YouTube guys, not the big ones, not the reputable ones, but some of them are like, you're stupid. You don't know anything. Now, of course, if you want to call me stupid, that's fine. You can hit the like button. I love the attention because, I'm like that. But you can make decisions too. Guys like me can help you. We have Patreon. We have a YouTube member area. Come visit us. But even if you can't do any of that, you're in India and you're in a far off place, you can figure out crypto because it's not that complicated. Ethereum is telling you that it's all suppressed, that it's all cheap. My star analyst, that's what she says. Yeah, this is all cheap. And you could throw, you could put a list of cryptos on a wall. You could put all 300 coins from CoinGecko on a wall, throw a dart at it, and probably do okay. Not go crazy, right? The top companies buying XRP, there's 10 of them. Hyperscale Data, Nature's Miracle, Wellgenex, Vivo Power. You ever heard of Vivo Power, an electric company in Europe? Well, you do now because they're holding XRP. SBI, Trident Digital. Dude, companies are buying it. Why? Well, they want to get attention and it's money. It's money. They're late to the Bitcoin trade. Well, they're not going to be late to this one, right? Yob says, chill bros, let's make a lot of money. Yav, a YouTube member and loyal fan of this show at this time. Live It 351 says, anything you can't print has value, right? Lush, a very interesting small cap project. I don't know if they've been able to fully execute, but, they were doing the AI influencer marketplace where like an AI influencer would stream about Bud Light all day long. Someone's going to figure it out. Someone's going to figure it out. I was watching Family Ties rerun from the 80s and silver came up at $20. Crazy. Yeah, silver's going to 100. If ETH goes to 10,000, silver's going to 100, right? What's up, everybody? This guy is irritating, even if he is right about everything. Sir, we appreciate your viewership. And if you want to hate on me, it's great, because that means you're getting somewhere. All right. My producer is like, dude, what are you doing talking for an hour? This is the market update. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. I'm your host, Bill Noble. We'll see you next time.